it.
Another thing too we want to consider is about a week and a half ago, I submitted a grant to the Department of Agriculture for the repair board to blacktop all of that across the road. It goes to the oil hall, stables, and also down to the RV park. If we get that, that'll be about $100,000.
So you're saying we can use that on this? What are you saying, Keith? I mean, what are you saying? I mean, what are you helping here?
He's saying,
Are you just talking or are you saying something? Okay.
thank you, Keith.
Hey, we get a better deal?
That will be appreciated.
Absolutely.
We hope we get it.
We should get it this time, really.
That'd be nice.
That'd be good.
It'll be a good addition too.
But that's what I'm saying.
Keep it up.
If there's any way they could do it, the sooner the better, you know, if they could work it in and that everything comes through, then.
Well, let me
But
ask you this.
spring, sometimes it's so wet in the, you know, they start spring soccer and.
What is the best time for the asphalt to go down, Jimmy?
It's hot,
Right now,
Well-
right now,
hotter the better.
right now it's time to put her down there before it starts.
Well,
getting
that's my
tough.
point. If they can't get to it right away, then I think we might be
Yeah.
better off. Don't get me wrong, we all want it, we've approved it, but it might be better off to wait till next year to complete
May,
this.
like we do, May would be when they
Yeah,
open back
as
up.
opposed to, because I don't think you'd want to put it down in November sometime and you get the winter through it. I think
They'll
you
probably
spend a lot of money for
If
issues.
everything was to be okay, they could, you know, depending on what they got going on, it might could, I'd say wait and see what the city says and then go from there.
There's your sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
All right,
we'll leave
good
it
deal.
up to you.
Thank you all.
We'll let you make that call. Thanks, Jim.
All right, department reports. Jimmy, you got a report in here, so.
Brush pile at the transfer station. Cafeteria has been coming, grinding for free. They're gonna start charging. They come in Monday, they're gonna start charging. Sometimes we get, what, Keith, 17, 20 loads at a time.
Probably run about 6,500 to do it.
No. Yeah, of course, now, when you talk about the brush, where all's that brush come from? Citizens?
Yeah.
All right, so I know that the city and the county, we work together on putting this process in place,
Yeah,
or as far as
exactly
dumping the
right.
brush and all that. So have you discussed that with them, Judge?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, we need to pay half and then pay half.
I mean, let me say this, number one, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to have it out there, and I'm glad that, as,
If
you
it
know,
wasn't out there, it'd be on side roads.
that's correct. So hopefully the city would be willing to work with us on that.
Miles Avenue down there, it's complete. Everything looks good. And then turned it in. We're gonna start mowing. We done mowing, you know, we're gonna start mowing and everything. Grading and rocking the road. And we're waiting on that discretionary money. What we're gonna do, if we're gonna finish the blacktopping or if we're gonna wait till May.
Doing your mowing on the side of the roads primarily.
Billy Ross and Robert Griffin.
You know, they're doing a good job. You know, I'd say that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate it. Let them know that. Appreciate it. Appreciate you following up on them, so.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Keith?
Yes, Sharon completed the mapping of all the hydrants in the county yesterday.
Awesome.
And we've got maybe 6 or 8 maximum that we'll need Jimmy to maybe mark and find for us. We couldn't really find them, but other than that, it went really smooth. Found everything looks good, and we're going to get those on the map for the fire department.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
About 185 of them.
Talked to Trey Abel. I talked to him the other day, and he's talked to the chief. And when we get all this done, we'll probably see if Barry will let us get some inmates to possibly mark. Part of the problem is you can't see some of the hydrants, and Trey even mentioned to me that some of the firefighters would probably take some time to go mark them. I think Sharon said some of them have a rod driven beside them.
Well, I saw some in Taylor County today, and they had like a rod or a inch pipe bolted to the, kind of the top sticking up, say 4 or 5 foot, so if the weeds or if it's down in a little low spot, it's sticking up.
Well, the ones along Veterans Memorial Parkway have a fiberglass rod sticking up on easy to find.
Yeah.
So we,
There was about a half a dozen or so that we haven't mapped yet, I forgot, and that's the new line to Taylor County. We're gonna get those first three, and then they'll be complete.
so we probably need to maybe purchase some of those to do that. That's part of the ISO,
It would really be
would,
good.
it would help with the ISO rating. So not only finding, but marking them as part of it is what Trey, he's dealt with it some, so.
Some of them we put in early on were, they weren't really hydrants, they were like field stations.
Yes.
Do you distinguish between the two? I mean,
Well, they will be on the mapping. We
Yeah,
had
that's what I'm-
trouble finding some of the ones that were below the ground. They actually got them steel, cast iron plate. We found them, I think we found them all, but they need to be marked somewhere.
is there some of those that are regular, kind of look like fire hydrants, but they're not, they're just filled, and some of them above ground, some of the original ones?
One would call pole tires or one outlet. I don't think the ISO will recognize them.
Well, that's what
They've changed the class I went to a couple months ago, they're giving you credit for anything now. So even if it's on a 2-inch,
They're a falsehood.
Yeah.
Burn all 2 minutes, it's over.
yeah.
No, the great thing is, I agree, is if we get credit for it, that's tremendous, but the fact is that technically you won't be able to use them for fighting fire. I mean, let's be real. But if we get benefit for them, that's.
Yeah, just having
that's a
something
great
there,
thing.
they've changed the way they look at them, and
We actually found one where they had a fire plug in their flower garden. It was a fake fire plug. And that fire plug in the flower garden. We tried to map it.
you thought it was real.
It was just something for the dog.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
Well, just.
Oh, shouldn't
walk
have.
back. True story.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Fake rocks in the yard out here, he had a phone box. He didn't like, so he put it one of those fake rocks, and they were trying to find the phone box. They looked for 2 days, couldn't find it because
Covered it up.
it was under the fake rock.
Can you see it all? That's fine.
Good, thank you, Keith.
Anything else, Keith?
I saw that little sign you put out there. Y'all see that too?
Yeah.
Jimmy and them got those up there. I did the legend on them, and Jimmy had them up the next day.
That's how he rolls.
Good right now.
I didn't realize it was that far.
Yeah.
We
Good
got Mike
ways.
Robinson, Lincolnville Area Development District, took his center line to the river and went between these ramps, and I didn't realize, I thought it might be 3 or 4 miles. Good Lord, it's 21.17 miles from Calvary to Raywick. Along the river.
I better have an electric motor.
Trolling motor.
Or a lot of food.
Yeah, a lot of liquid water, cold. All right,
Good
thank
deal.
you.
Thank you, Keith. Barry?
Count still continues to be an issue, and I just kind of want to cover a little bit today so we can start realizing the cost. I am working with Lisa, trying to work with, on our child supporters, that office, and some of our lower fines. Right now, we've got in the jail portion of the jail, we got 42 inmates. We're 42 over in the core portion of the jail. 38 of those are state inmates that haven't been moved or processed into the state system that we're kind of stuck with, and that's an effort for the state is so overcrowded in the prison system and not having extra beds to pull these controlled intakes, or, I mean, we've got inmates that are not even classified to be housed in county jails. I mean, there's being medium or maximum security prisons. Nonetheless, so we don't really have the state contracts has got us housed, got us bound because of law and stuff, but I will be meeting with John, Secretary Tilley in the next couple of weeks. We've got it arranged to discuss some of the issues with that, but, one voice. We'll see how that goes. We also, right now, like I said, we're 42 over in that. So it's actually called, there's a real figure to the month number. I mean, I've got the library closed, multi-purpose. I've got inmates housed in there. It costs us about $8,000 to $9,000 a month to staff that. I cannot not staff it with direct supervision because it's an area that I'm using for housing that is not built for housing. It doesn't have restrooms or showers. So we have to be Johnny on the spot. Somebody has to move to another location to use facilities. So we're spending about, like in $8,000 to $9,000 a month on overtime just for housing in that area. And we had to close down one South dorm. That's 8 beds. That's costing us $10,000. We're losing $10,000 revenue a month. So we're somewhere around $20,000 a month right now on the overcrowding issue. So it kind of puts a little bit more strength on pushing at the state, trying to do something with their issues. At the same time of it is, I've got nine child supports, and I've got six people under $700 bonds. I've got one that we have housed him for
We still have him?
$51, but we did get him moved. He is in Bull County right now. He's just released just as a holder, so once Bull County gets done with him, he comes straight back, and that's a $51 restitution. But that's the battle we're against right now, and it's an actual. What I wanted to make point of it is that it's an actual cost to us at this point. I mean, because it's running $20,000 a month. I talked to Lisa. We're trying to communicate with the judges, try to communicate with the child support offices. And we're not seeing a whole lot of trends changing. I mean, the one thing would help us drastically, and that would be the state of Kentucky stepping up and moving their state inmates, getting that process done. Because again, we're 42 over, and they got 38 in those beds too. So that would help us on one aspect of it. But some decisions will have to be made in the new budget 2018, and those budget decisions are going to be pretty tough decisions because it took me a long time to secure those contracts and secure those raises in those per diems. And we've already told Washington County last week, we asked them to move 3 of their inmates, and their inmates pay higher than the state. But we also have classification conflict issues that we pushed out. So 2018 may force us, with this trend, force us to vacate our federal contract, and not only, but probably force Washington County to push out without the state doing something with i.e. privatization or finding some alternative with state prisoners.
Yeah, I don't think you don't have any choice, because you're going to have,
Where we're at.
yeah, you're going to have to get rid of the federal side if things don't change, absolutely,
Yeah, and
to create that
I'm
opening.
hoping in November, and I just, it took us so long to get that, and even right now, it's not that big of a factor, so it wouldn't hurt us as much, but at the same time it is a real figure. I know that we get Lisa and them, the courts, they get so bombarded with my staff and classification calling and living on a prayer on possibly getting somebody through. And at the same time of this, we got individuals that continue to violate and repeatedly not follow court orders. So the court's strapped to, what do? They won't comply. The quick, easy thing would be the state of Kentucky step up and move get those inmates that are unsigned to programs, get them assigned into prisons or places would be one fix.
Well, you just said quick, easy, at state, so
It's not happening.
that's not going to work, so.
But anyway, as we move through into the legislative session, Senator Higdon is working on some legislation, trying to do what I'm pushing for, like I have in the last 3 or 4 years, is performance-based contracting from state to local governments on operating jails. That's not again, I'm probably only about 2 or 3 of us in the state that sing that song. It would require the state to do away with the law that says shall and put back may on Class D's housed in jails. And then do contract-based. So, again, that's a prayer.
I don't know, that might be a miracle, but anyway, I don't know about prayer.
It may be.
Jesus.
Other other than that, we have our laundry system, again, is like some of our kitchen equipment. It's been around 20 years, and we finally have one that's a machine that's failing. The repair on one washer is $8,000 to repair the one washer, and it's so outdated and getting the stuff there. So
You don't have washboards?
we need those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to look at the system and do it, we just need to replace it. Just go in and replace our dryers. Our dryers, drums have gotten fabric melted on it. They're too hot. It's not efficient. Right now, the whole complete system, the 2 washers, 2 dryers, $34,503. But now, the company that sells the machine says they would lease them for $864, but that's for 60 months. So I phoned a local bank just to inquire. I said, first off I don't want to put a clothes washer on a 60-month loan, but I asked about doing a lease to own for 3 years, and a local bank could hit it around $1,000. So that would be, right now with the revenue, I don't foresee us jumping in and just going 34,000 out. We could probably get this equipment replaced by just doing a lease to own for 3 years. But I don't know if I'm going to have to do a bid on that if I do a lease to own.
Even if it's a,
Even if I could even.
Consider that a special deal.
well, no, I'm just thinking, I was just wondering if it's a,
Emergency or,
well, no, but if it's
Yeah,
if it's a lease
really
purchase,
clean linen.
if it's a lease purchase as opposed to just a standard purchase, which obviously anything over
Yeah,
$20,000.
I won't own it. I'm going to lease it for a year and buy it out for $1.
I think there's
Or 3 years.
I think there's,
Leasing a vehicle, you're still.
if you can find that out for us, it'd be great.
You're gonna be, I'll look at it for the lease purposes, but
It would be, it's just going to push us down the road where, we're going to be the one, we've got the one that's failing.
you're looking at it to lease to own it?
Yeah, a lease to
Put it
yeah.
on a lease program.
Yeah, and you might check into, they also have what they call a rent to own, which is basically, it's just a play on words. It's the same thing, that's contract just states rent.
They
Same
wanted
thing.
$1,500 for that,
Did they? Who, the bank did?
the company.
Oh, well, yeah, it's different. I'm talking about a bank. But anyway, you might check that too, because the wording might make a difference there. And I'd love to purchase it, but we're gonna get them kids some asphalt out there on that parking lot, so I guess your inmates should
So
just do that.
again, $1,000 a month for 3 years is probably our best shot.
you said 864 times 60?
Yeah,
That's $51,000.
that's their company.
Yeah, that's pretty easy to figure, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
they was really,
I was gonna finance it myself, if it was a little less than that, you know?
I'd like to have some of that action.
the lease to own would be a lot
But
better.
Again, one of the local banks cranked down, and then of course if y'all want to bid that around, let all of them shoot at it, but I need to get something done pretty quick.
So there's not an emergency provision somewhere?
Well, there is, but, you know, I'll
How
let
many
our
people
county
carry
attorney
these?
speak to that.
How many companies carry these?
Yeah,
Will you
it's
get a
not
lot of
life
people bid on them, or?
Well, you do and you don't. This one is different. The machines we got that lasted 20, this same company, which is a very reliable company, they have one distributor in Kentucky that serves Kentucky, Tennessee area, so it's.
Well, now, Woodlawn's got a coin operating one up there, you know, I'm just saying, you know.
I had to have some more overtime to get somebody to drive up there.
See, you always got, you always want to
Get the answers, don't you?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
What if they were broken down in a lease to own for the washers and a separate lease to own for the
I
dryers?
don't know, I mean, what would be, it would have to, because you're looking at the washers, you'd do a washer dryer unit and then a washer dryer unit. Do 2 leases, but I don't know, just.
I think that's up to our county attorney and her advice.
Figure that out.
Yeah, so. One more thing I've got a question for you on is that I know a few months back you had mentioned to the court about the ankle bracelets and so forth. Where do we stand on that? Have you tried working with anybody on that, or?
judges who's eligible, and we was actually going to talk with the child support folks if I could even, if they get a partial payment and try to push some of the child support people out on home incarceration. We're also, I've got an individual looking for some alcohol monitoring to go along with it, and one of the companies we're working with, some of that technology is really advanced and they're really coming on.
Well, that would be a concern. I mean, I think you'd want that involved, obviously, so. But let me say this, would the court agree, what if the court provided a resolution to the individuals, whether it be, the judges or whoever it might be, that we would appreciate their support in helping us come to this resolution?
Any words of help, again.
I mean, are you guys willing to do that?
The judges and the prosecutor and the county attorney. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're going to make, but I mean, still, I think they need to understand it's just not Jailer Brady calling for it. It's
the real thing of it is now there's a real dollar tied to it.
Yeah.
It's easy to figure it because I know exactly what I mean. When I'm opening the library up, it's going to cost us $8,000-9,000 a month.
Yeah.
Every time I open the library.
And you're concerned about the figures, we're concerned about the figures, but of course the judges aren't, and they shouldn't be. They're concerned about the law. So,
Yeah.
But Judge, if you could get a resolution put together and have it addressed if you'll let him know, to the judge and so forth, and we'll send that in.
Do we support?
Keep in mind, though, the other aspect of the victims out in this community that are owed monies.
Oh, I agree. No, that's what I'm saying.
I understand some of those issues too, but, on this side of it too, we see it, especially in law enforcement, that these folks out here are wanting that. When people raise hell with me, while Johnny's not up on his
let me say
job
this again, I agree, but you're correct, and that's where, for example, if that's the case, it's two sides, as you know, and I agree. For example, if there's a spouse, for example, we're talking about domestic violence, okay? If there's someone falling behind on child support and they're violent, and it's the wife wants that individual to spend time, I think all they have to do is make that very clear to the court or to the judge and so forth, and I think the judge would do everything they could. On the other hand, it's also a factor, and it's well documented, that there's a lot of individuals. First of all, when it comes to non-payment of child support, unfortunately, we got a bunch of slugs that are never going to pay, okay? You got a bunch of slugs that will never pay. But then you do have a finite number of individuals that I think would pay, but hell, they're in jail. So, you just fall further behind. The other side of that is that, and I understand, there's no 100% safe-proof answer, okay? But I think it's something that's worth looking at, because
most of them, they let pay a certain amount, or they let them out. If they would pay the certain amount, they'd let them out. That's why they're in jail.
Oh, I understand. I understand that. I understand.
They're not doing it,
Yeah.
or that's why they're in jail.
I've got a few that they haven't. I've got a few.
But if we have, but the point is that.
They won't take a partial payment on.
Yeah, but the other point is that with the overcrowding we have and so forth, and I agree, but if it's 3 or 4 a month, believe it or not, that makes a difference in a budget. I mean, that makes a difference on a 30-day process in cost and so forth. So I'm not saying.
Like I say, he would have to open up the library, or,
Yeah, I mean,
But what I'm saying is, and I'm not here to get on child support and who needs to be in jail and who doesn't.
That ain't my decision.
It's nationwide. The state of Kentucky's got skin in the game on this too. I mean, they've got some issues with it as well. I'm not advocating against one and a half dozen others. Just guess what? We're spending about $20,000 a month right now in Marion County on overcrowding.
Well,
If you put a bracelet on them and they didn't work and pay, you had to take them back, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You've got sales down there where they'd want to get out, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that one day that we
Put 'em back there and-
some of your bigger cities, you think that smaller counties wouldn't do it, but, alternatives, having an actual division for alternative sentence measures that has a tied case management with the officers tied to the, kind of like creating your own probation and parole.
We're seeing a whole lot of that through the court systems, because believe me, I see it, and I know our county attorney sees it, that there is a lot of opportunities for those individuals given by the courts to take care of some of the issues they have, and they refuse or continue to refuse to do that.
Yeah, and
And I'm talking about when they're
is,
given probation, on top of probation.
On top of probation,
I
yeah.
totally agree with that, but the program that I'm talking about is, it's a supervised program. It's actually.
This year
you got-
supervised too by the courts,
Well.
and they refuse to do that.
Supervised with a counselor and an officer. I mean, supervised with, a little bit more probation and parole supervision, or even heavier than probation and parole supervision type. And you know, of course, being we had talked about some of those things, even from multiple counties, getting into, like, if we even created a cooperation between the 4 counties.
What's the lady's got 8 counties that does, Marion County, that's
Yes.
that's got, that's the
That's on the heroin bill.
heroin bill,
And
yeah.
that's just getting into treatment. The one other thing that we had with that in child support is that finding child support neglect, they're negligent, but then they're also on disability and fighting drug issues. But we never do, we need to take, if we possibly try to work on some of the other issues as well as we go through it. But again,
Well, hey,
legislators.
let's just move
bring it up.
forward. I look for the judges and those and county attorneys, I look for those professional individuals to be able to make those decisions. So all we're asking is to look at it.
So the resolution will just say that we support alternative sentencing.
Yeah, and that we would appreciate if they would look at it and
Exactly.
work with us, and
I agree.
they control it, we don't, but just give us an opportunity to look at
I mean,
it. It might not,
may be
you know.
An opportunity to look into, again, the 4 counties, cooperating together to build a bit,
They've got another program over in Nelson County, I think, that we don't have, and I heard Dean Watts. I'll have to find out what it is, but they've had some success with it. So.
All counties opened up, they've done several programs, and their count in Danville is like 208% capacity. So people look at me and say, well, what are you complaining about?
Yeah, what do you complain about?
Yeah. You gotta go live a life of the day with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barry.
What's the state saying about those prisoners that you're having to hold waiting to transition to Department of Corrections?
They're not calling them in. They don't have any room. They're closing.
They don't want 'em.
They're closing.
They don't want 'em, do they?
They have no private.
Well, they're calling Jimmy whenever we have somebody in a, where'd you go the other day? Bell County or?
Marshall County, Graves County, Christian County today, Campbell County.
Just today?
Yesterday.
Jesus Christ.
We take these runs all over the state to pick up, individuals. And we've talked with some legislators too about that, because they're being housed in county jails as state prisoners, and it's costing everybody.
I mean, there are a lot of. I've got a list that
We
we
do a lot of
send out.
legal treatments to keep him from having to run around the whole
State.
state to try to resolve.
So when you go to Marshall County, Christian County, well, that's way out there, but who pays you for that? Uh-huh. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. I want everybody to understand is that when you do that, you do those or when you go get them, that's coming out of the county, that's coming out of the sheriff's budget, it's coming out of the county, so.
What if
county's
we don't
coffers,
get them? What if we don't pick them up, Jim?
You're in violation.
I mean, the jails are, it's just like the Barry situation. I mean, they're calling, they want us to pick them up that day or the day before they were picked up there, but, and I understand that because they're wanting to free up space in their jails like Barry.
It's like Barry.
Give that Judge Darty's number when you say, well, I ain't picking them up, my county judge told me, all right? Yeah. Don't mention my name or, anybody else's,
I do my best to accommodate them, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we can't sometimes make it happen overnight, but, again, there's no quick, easy answer to it, but, at the same time, I think, putting the heads together and talking about some of those issues, again, there's victims out here that they're wanting their restitution, they're wanting their money and stuff like that.
And they should.
Yeah, that it goes back to this state of Kentucky, because, all of those 38 states, I got it at $31.34 a day, we're actually backwards on those. I mean, 'cause I can make more money.
State knows all about backwards, but don't let them make a decision on it, because we see what they're doing with the pension, so.
Again, bring it up to the legislators, about
Yeah.
the state inmates.
Well, Judge, if you get that done, we'll rock forward from
Whenever,
there.
Jimmy, you go to Christian County, where I get one, is that a state prisoner? Or is that like a Marion
A lot
County?
of times it's a state prisoner that's been released there that might have holders
Oh,
from Marion County, so.
That's what I meant.
we go
So
get
there's
that.
charges on them here.
Sometimes they're just picked up and just by pure chance that maybe they hadn't paid a fine on time or
And then, but there's charges here, so you bring them back. Okay, that's what I was wondering, why they were coming to here, but there's some kind of pending.
you know, and if it's a felony situation, we do get reimbursed of some monies by the state.
Very little. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.